Okay, so I usually will start by saying the date. Today is August 19th, Monday, 2019. And this is our very first official math lesson and our official math video of the year. Okay, you can see our learning goal today is I can describe what the math practice standards are or what the math practices mean. And I can also explain how I use them when I solve math problems. Okay. Like I said before, normally there's going to be a separate math video for 4th grade and a separate math video for 5th grade. But this week we're doing all of our math lessons together because we're starting with some basics that apply to both grade levels. Does that make sense? Okay, and you can see your 4th grade problem of the day and your 5th grade problem of the day. You should have finished solving it by now. We will go over the answers for the problem of the day later. First, I'm going to give you a challenge. Okay, your challenge is how many different equations can you come up with to make your classroom number? Your goal is to try to use as many different equations as possible. And you're going to be given an index card. Okay, so you don't need to use your notebook for this. And what you're going to do is you're going to write your classroom number really big in the middle of that index card. Okay, oh, of course you're going to write your name in the upper right-hand corner when you get it. So if my classroom number was 100, what's one way I could make 100? Haruto? 50 plus 50, totally. Okay. What's another way I could make my classroom number? Maham?
25 times 4.
25 times 4. You can see I used a different operation there. Okay. Multiplication and addition. Millicent? 1 times 100. Good. Avani?
10 times 10.
10 times 10. Good. So I've used addition and multiplication so far. Can we use a different operation? The challenge is to use as many different operations as possible. Shobit. 200 divided by 2. There's a different operation. Tatiana.
400 divided by 4.
400 divided by 4. Okay. There's one operation I haven't used yet. I've used multiplication, addition, and division. What's one other way that I could use a different operation? Arnav?
200 minus
200 minus 100. I'm going to give you another challenge. So far, each of my math equations has had 2 parts. Something plus something, or something times something, or something divided by something, or something minus something, right? Could I make an equation that has more than 2 parts? Yeah. Could I use a fraction? These are things I want you to think about. This is a chance for me to see what you know about equations and the different operations. Today's learning goal says I can describe what the math practice standards are and explain how I use them. Well, in order to describe what they are or to explain how you use them, you need to first know what are the math practice standards. Give me a thumbs up if you have an idea of what the math practice standards are. Yeah, I see some thumbs, but not very many. That's okay. Standards are what you have to learn. Okay? So for math, there are 2 kinds of standards. There are something called content standards. Thank you to those of you who are really doing a good job of taking good math notes and writing all this down. There are content standards. Content means this is what you have to learn. Content standards tell you what you have to learn. So like things like addition or subtraction. Like for example, there are math standards that say in 4th grade, you need to be able to divide a 4-digit number by a 1-digit number. Or in 5th grade, you need to be able to divide a 4-digit number by a 2-digit number, right? Or it might say, content standards might say, in 1st grade, you need to know how to tell time. Or in 10th grade, you need to be able to do 2 quadratic equations and graph them and make parabolas and not hyperboles, a different word. I forget what it is right now. Okay, does that make sense? So content tells you what you have to learn. It tells you that in 5th grade, you need to be able to convert fractions into decimals. Or it tells you that in 4th grade, you need to be able to find equivalent fractions with different denominators. It tells you the stuff you have to learn. Okay. On the other hand, there are a different kind of standards called practice standards. This tells you how you should do math. It doesn't tell you you should learn addition or subtraction, but it tells you how you should think when you are doing math. So practice standards are things like, when you see a hard math problem, you should not give up. Does that tell you what kind of math you're learning? No, it's telling you what you do as a mathematician, right? Or it might say something like, when you see a math problem, you can draw it in a picture and explain it with words and use numbers to solve it. Does that tell you what kind of math you're doing? No, it's telling you how you're doing the math. Okay, so from this picture you can see, this should look familiar to you. There are 8 math practice standards and they show up on your report card because we teachers and the district believes it's so important for you to know how you should be acting as a mathematician. You'll see there's even more of these than the math standards, than the content standards. Do you see that? Okay, so if we're going to be graded on this, don't you want to understand what they mean so that you can do a good job on them? Yeah, so that's what our whole lesson is about today, okay? Practice number 1 is all about understanding what word problems or math problems are asking you to solve and not giving up, trying lots of times even when it's hard. So you'll see here we have our problem of the day. We were able to show evidence of this by identifying what the question's asking. When you told me that this question's asking how many more cans did Mrs. Rourke's class collect, or what is the total number of dogs and cats, you are showing that you can make sense of problems, that you understand what the problem's asking. Does that make sense? And if you were able to solve it without giving up, did you persevere?
Yeah.
Yes, very good. I can think about the math problem in my head, or I can think about the numbers in my head before I write them down. So how might we show that? Well, I could think, well, in the 4th grade problem, one class has 385 and one class has 259. I could think, well, 385 is kind of almost 400 and 259 is like 250. So 400 minus 250 is about 150. So maybe the answer should be around 150. Do you see I'm thinking about it in my head first? Okay. And that's how you can show evidence of MP2. MP3 basically means I can use words to describe my math thinking. I can write out words or I can say words to discuss with a partner. Anushka and I were talking in the back too. The second part means we can compare strategies. Maybe Anushka's strategy was different than my strategy and we can discuss them and decide which way was the best. Okay, so take some notes about what MP3 means. MP4 means that I can use math symbols, which are diagrams or pictures, and numbers in order to solve the problem. So math pictures are different than everyday pictures, right? When the 5th grade problem is talking about dogs and cats, if I want to draw a picture, do I draw pictures of dogs and cats? Right. Should I be drawing 12,000 dogs and 7,000 cats like that? No, those are not math pictures. That would not be evidence of MP4. Instead, what I could do is draw what's called a tape diagram. I could show that there are 12,308 dogs, and I'm going to add to that 7,953 cats, and what I'm trying to find is how many animals there are altogether. Okay, that's an example of a math picture. Or in the 4th grade, I could show that Mrs. Rourke's class collected 385 cans, and Mr. Hardy's class collected less. They only collected 259 cans. And what I'm trying to find is this difference right here. Do you guys see that? Okay, so MP4 means I can draw math pictures to show the math problem. I can use math tools, like if I need to use a ruler or a compass or a protractor, I know which tool I need to use, or a pencil, right? I can use pictures, drawings, and objects to solve the problem. Sometimes I might need to use things like unit cubes to help me. I know that I need them and I use them. Sometimes I might need to use these rods. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Right, to help me. Okay, so I know what tools I need to use, and then I use them to help me solve a math problem. This one is super important. It says I can attend to precision. It doesn't mean I can show up at a class called precision. No, it means I am careful and I can check to see if my strategy and calculations are correct. This one is huge. A lot of times, 12,308 plus 7,953. A lot of times we make careless mistakes. Like instead of lining up the place value, we might write this. Would this be correct? No, because it's off. Do you see that? Okay. This is an example of being careless. Another example of being careless and not attending to precision is doing something like this. 385 minus 259. Oh, this is another example. What is not correct about this? Well, the number is 259, and I wrote 295, right? Raise your hand if you've ever done something like this. Yeah, we all have, okay? Or another example could be if I'm doing something like 12 plus 15, I might think 2 plus 5, that's 8, 2, and there is our careless mistake. You guys are like, what? I know. It's careless because you know it, but when we're working fast or we're not paying a lot of attention, we're a little distracted, it's easy to make careless mistakes. So if you use MP6 and you attend to precision, you check. When you're done, you go back and check your work. You double, triple check so that you make sure you didn't make any careless errors. Someone who is very attentive to precision always goes back to check, and that's MP6. Make sense? And you know that the 5th grade problem asks you to add a 5-digit number to a 4-digit number. Maybe you've never added so many digits before, but you should be able to take what you know about adding 2-digit numbers and 3-digit numbers to do this as well. Does that make sense? So you're taking what you already know and applying it to a more complex or a different problem. So basically, MP8 is just saying, I use strategies that I already learned to solve different problems.